Depending on what you believe, and depending on some of the reports that you may have heard about, read about, or seen on a video, it would seem like inner alchemy is at odds with some of the things that near-death experiencers are reporting. Sometimes, especially with the more popular cases that people are talking about, people that have had near-death experiences, or people that report pre-birth memories, say that we have agreed to come here, that this life has purpose and meaning, that we made a conscious choice at some point to come to this life. People that have these kinds of near-death experiences, or people that might report having met certain angelic-like figures, that report having memories before their physical birth, might say that they have been told, that they feel deep within themselves, that they came here for a reason, that they chose. This of course implies in a way that there are reasons for the struggles and the pain of this material world, but at the same time there is this feeling of not needing to question, but to just accept the fact that we chose to be here, to trust in higher authority. Along with these messages and these experiences, some may report that they have been told by certain voices or angelic-like figures, that what they need to do is to learn to love. Interestingly, while there might be this message in these experiences of purpose and the need to develop more loving ways, there is seldom any mention of the need for self-development. Such ideas and experiences might seem to go completely against some of the basic precepts of inner alchemy, that I have written about and that I have discussed in my videos. If for example, we came here for a reason, if we chose to be here, then how does this relate to the way of inner alchemy, which states that we should overcome this place, fight against the oppressive density and gravity of this place, overcome the archon? If there is a purpose for our being here, then what is that purpose? Oftentimes, in accordance with what some of the people that have had such experiences say, it seems that we are not meant to know, like it is somehow above us, beyond us, at least the conscious part of us. It is sort of implied and sometimes stated outright that this material world, our physical lives, are kind of like a school for us to learn, but the nature of what we are to learn can sometimes be a vague thing. For the most part we may be told that we should learn about love, that love is the key to whatever it is that we are supposed to learn to do here. If this is the case, then where does the archon fit in? The way of inner alchemy says that this is a world that must be overcome, and yet such near-death experiences, such angelic figures, and some pre-birth knowledge, seems to oppose these notions in a way. It would seem like inner alchemy is trying to spoil the game, like they are saying that one should walk away from this predestiny. And as I have mentioned in the past, inner alchemy takes it one step further by saying that the conscious part of us, that part of you that is now listening to this video, that awake part in this here now moment that is truly alive and independent at this nexus point in time, this part, it did not agree to anything, it did not agree to come down here and participate in this life. This notion of agreeing or not agreeing in accordance with the direct perceptions of inner alchemists, is a complex one and I go into great detail on this, every nuanced point of it, in the book, The Way of the Death Defier. And I would highly recommend that you read that book if you are interested in the near-death experience, the energetic truth of the life and death cycle, what happens after we physically die, what final death and the black sun are, and how it is possible for a practitioner to defy even this final death and attain immortality. In that book in particular, I say that inner alchemists take the stance that they did not agree to participate in any life game, they did not agree to come here, and in accordance with their seeing, their direct perceptions of the world beyond this physical dimension, they know that what they truly are, the individuality that is theirs now, is something that they gained after physical birth, and not before it. As I said, I do explain this in detail in the book mentioned above, but in essence what it means to the inner alchemist is that, if there was no true individuality before physical birth, then the core of who they are now did not choose anything. In this short video I cannot explain all of the nuance of this, but I will try to answer some of these questions about the contradictions between inner alchemy and what some are reporting in near-death experiences, in pre-birth memories, or in contact with what some might refer to as angelic voices, angelic beings, or godlike entities. So first off, inner alchemists say that this is not a game that they chose and that directly contradicts many of the beliefs and the experiences of some people. But they do agree in a sense with the notion that we have come here for a reason, that there is a greater purpose to the material reality and the life that we are living now. Through their own direct experiences, which are highly conscious and aware experiences where inner alchemists engage in something I referred to as seeing or something that I have referred to as the way of the projectionist. They have in these very sober moments been able to experience directly, to see, that what might be referred to as a higher order of being is indeed using this material world, this playground, let us call it, for a greater purpose. But inner alchemists as true individuals did not agree to this game, so they are not willing to play that game. They want out of the playground basically. And yet, one could say that inner alchemy is not about truancy, it is not about running out of the school playground and escaping altogether. In a sense, inner alchemy could be said to be more like a truancy officer for the individual anyway. Inner alchemy insists that the only gift that you will ever get in this life is that individuality that is yours at this moment point. It says that individuality in many ways is a kind of accident, a little complication from the playground that was built by higher authority, a little quirk in the energetic design of the place. Inner alchemy says that you should take that accidental gift and run with it, steal it, and once you have done that, only when you have done that, when you have truly taken it as your own, then you should escape the playground altogether, and let those supposed higher forces continue their game without you. So, because of the need to first steal that accidental gift, inner alchemists are the truancy officer for those that seek individuality, in that they often insist on the fact that this little playground that they did not agree to come to is a school. They insist that this place must become a real school for all those that seek true individuality, and true freedom. They say that this is the only school that counts for the freedom-seeking individuals that are stuck in this place, and the only way to really get out is to come to terms with the idea that you have to get yourself out by looking at this place, this playground, as a challenge to overcome, as a school of sorts to be aced. You can think of it like this, in accordance with what some might be experiencing, and some might be reporting, at least the way that it is being reported, and this is crucial. It would seem like the fact that we are here, and the act of being here on this material earth, is as it should be. It is like there is no need to try, no need to think about life and living overtly too much, because a greater force is guiding this time and there is in essence no need to try very hard at anything. There is no need to try or think about it too much because you are in the right place at the right time, you chose to be here, and there is a greater force taking care of you, so just go with it, go with the flow, you cannot go wrong. Inner alchemists then are sort of like little sticks in the mud, nasty truancy officers in that they want to ruin the party, they want everybody to get out of the playground and wake up, get out of the arcade and go back to school, wake up to the fact that they are supposed to be in school, true school, instead of unconsciously frolicking in the playground. Some of these people that have had very legitimate, very real and valid memories and experiences, sometimes insist that love is all there is. In trying to explain to others the nature of their experiences, they may say something along the lines of, focus on love, more love, if you can do that everything else will take care of itself. In this case again, it would seem like inner alchemists are being little disturbers that contradict such notions of devotion and the feeling of love, of ease. They want to ruin the party, they want people to stop thinking that everything is easy peasy, and this seems to contradict all of the legitimate experiences that many people are having. But in order to understand what is going on here, and understand the point of view of inner alchemy, we must understand the nature of what is taking place in some of these experiences, we must understand the nature of the seeing of inner alchemy, and by doing so understand the nature of the message and the wisdom of such heavenly experiences. Certainly, the nature of these experiences is very complicated, there is an incredible amount of nuance involved here, having to do with the true nature of our existence as an individual. Such as, when do you become an individual? Who are these forces that are creating this environment we call physical reality? Is their purpose truly our purpose? Or another way to say this would be, could it be that the purpose of our existence is far more complicated than black and white answers, the kind of simplistic answers that we are used to hearing? Could it be that our purpose for being here has nuance and complication, that also takes into account an inherent need by the individual, to push the boundaries of themselves and their environment in every way possible? A nuance that insists that the individual should challenge even the very nature of the forces that are supposedly trying to guide them. Some that are able to perceive deeply, might be able to understand that certain greater or larger aspects of themselves did indeed participate in certain choices made, and that these choices have placed them in the physical circumstances that they find themselves in now. But the individual that is here now, this individual is unique, indeed must be unique for such supposed purposes to truly be able to unfold correctly. This individual must be free of memory and burden, it must be a unique start therefore for each and every individual life, and moreover, this individual must have a chance to free itself, it must be given the possibility to fight to go beyond any school curriculum, no matter how beautiful the school or the playground might be. Without this unique start, and without this ability to have a chance to break out of any bonds or cycles of being, then that individual cannot grow, or at the very least you could say that it can only grow so much, and only in a certain way, which in the end is no real growth at all from the inner alchemist's point of view. This is a complex environment, this little playground, and the forces that have brought it about are infinitely complicated as well. Some of them are interested in stifling growth. Not all of these forces can be said to be good from the human point of view, and such dark forces are interested in the ingestion, the eating, the using the playground for their own purpose, you might say. There are other forces that are interested in growth and evolution, they are interested in freedom and are open to any possibilities that the individual can manage to make happen, they want the genius in humanity to flourish. The nature of these experiences, whether near death, contact with angelic-like beings, or pre-birth memories of any kind, is very complex. Interpretation can sometimes be impossible at first, and even the reports of what has happened to some can be incredibly difficult to relate to others, because words will never be complex enough to describe the true depth of what such experiences are all about. To put it in simple terms, the nature of these commingling forces, those that want to help and those that want to stifle and consume, means that for the inner alchemists at least, there is only one possible answer. For them, this material earth goes from being a fun little playground and instead becomes a savage little garden, a place where they are grown and modified like bioengineered wheat, one life after the next, one crop to the next, each life creating better wheat, better growth, and for some that have agreed to put this garden together, that have participated in the growing of this garden, the wheat is the food. But, if these are legitimate experiences, and those forces contacted are indeed trying to help the wheat, those forces that want to help us evolve and become free, then what are they trying to say? This is a difficult thing to try to understand because these experiences and these pre-birth memories are very much like a dream, in that they are happening in other dimensional positions. Just like a dream is sometimes hard to decipher, being that the symbols and the things experienced sometimes represent and involve other things, deeper things, such near-death and angelic experiences are even more complicated than dreams most often, and they have inner qualities and challenges that are sometimes lost in translation. This savage little garden, as I call it, is savage, because we all suffer here to one degree or another, it is indeed a relative issue, but we all suffer. You might say that inner alchemists take the stance of the Buddhists that say that all life is suffering. So, one way to overcome some of the suffering is to understand that you are indeed a graceful being, you are in a state of grace because of the fact that you are graceful, you have been created in grace, in the image of God, in the image of all that is, and this is graceful. Understanding this fact could alleviate much of that suffering, so it is indeed great help to understand the nature of that grace that is yours now. Many of these near-death experiences and pre-birth memories try to make this point, and as such they are helpful. I believe that this is why many of these experiences tend to take on such qualities of inner grace and love. If you are told that love is the one thing, and this is the one thing that you should work on, then it is indeed possible for you to alleviate much of this struggle in this savage little garden through the pursuit of love. But, the little stick in the mud, the inner alchemist, says that in the savage garden you are going to forget about this love thing, you are going to forget about the true nature of love and about grace. In the interpretation of these experiences, and in the living, the actual living in this savage garden, we all forget, and we all make blunders in perception once we are back here in this material place. As such, it is very easy to skew meanings and the nature of action going forward after such revelations. For example, there are some that can fail to understand the nature of such experiences and skew these ideas, so that grace and gracefulness become an excuse to not try, to not even think about it, because to them grace means that they can just slack off. Some might understand the point of love during these experiences, or when they first hear about others having such experiences, but it is easy to assume that somehow love is there for you no matter what, which it is, but this does not mean that you can just give up, that you can just turn into some unconscious thing and wander through life without meaning or effort in some way. To love and to live in grace is not about pretending that you are in some playground without ever needing to worry about anything. It is instead about facing life head-on, about focusing on the right things, and about learning to develop an unrelenting, unbending focus on what truly matters. And this cannot happen without a great deal of effort on your part. This is the challenge, the true challenge, a true school to teach you about this challenge of this kind of focus, and as such this life that we are living in this place is the greatest adventure possible, and it is indeed a game that is being played on a cosmic level. What all this boils down to is acting and participating in the act of becoming more and more an individual, a conscious and aware being, a being that is learning to focus their conscious attention. If you are not doing this, then you are not growing in a certain sense, or another way to say this is that you are growing in a different way, you are growing like a plant. You are either consciously directing your attention on grace, or you are not, and in that case you are never going to find that grace that you seek. Instead, without this conscious focus all you will be part of is an unconscious life, the life of the plant. Without conscious focus you are just a plant, wheat to be sown in the savage garden. The individual fights to pull its roots out of the ground and walk away from any environment that it does not choose to be in. The difference between vegetative ignorance and active participation is the focus of attention, the deliberate and unrelenting focus of conscious attention, instead of looking away and not caring. In near-death experiences, angelic contacts, and pre-birth memories, at least from the point of view of inner alchemy, you are given a challenge. That challenge is to focus on your grace, and to focus on your love, true love, something I refer to as agape. To do that you need to focus on such things, and you must constantly fight the gravity and the density of this material earth, of this savage little garden, that makes you want to forget to consciously focus. To forget that challenge is not to be graceful. In other words, the real grace that is being experienced in those legitimate near-death experiences is not about forgetting, and saying who cares or there is no fight out there, because we live in a perfect place with nothing to worry about. It is instead about focusing on grace and focusing on it with unrelenting power. That is the challenge. If you can do that, then that grace will be upon you, but only if you can keep that focus, and that is the nature of the challenge, and this is so because that unrelenting focus is much harder than you imagine, therefore maintaining that focus on grace or on love in this savage little garden is far harder than some would imagine. Inner alchemy says that you should get back to school, get out of the arcade that is keeping you focused on silly little things in the savage garden. The truancy officers of inner alchemy say that you should at least wake up a little bit to the fact that this is a school and a challenge, a great adventure really of the most amazing kind. They say that you should wake up a little because if you do not you are missing out on the greatest joy possible for you. Inner alchemy says that you are not a plant, that you are not some wheat to be grown, generation after generation, in order to benefit a game that you did not agree to. Inner alchemy says that many of those near-death experiences, pre-birth memories, and those events where angelic-like forces are contacted are indeed legitimate, and that the nature of those experiences reveals the true nature of the challenge of existence. But those challenges are not about turning away and forgetting because supposedly there is nothing to worry about. They say that this is the con of the archon. They say that life is instead about facing the savage little garden head-on, and as you do so you learn to develop unrelenting focus on the true gracefulness of your being and on true love, agape. If you can maintain that unrelenting focus, which is the true challenge of the game, then you can pull those roots out of the ground and walk away and be neither wheat or chaff for anyone or anything. As I said, there is great nuance to all of this, and explaining it, explaining the nature of your psyche, your soul, biological death, true death as one faces the black sun, well, all of this requires more space than I have here. To that end I do recommend the book mentioned earlier, The Way of the Death Defier. There you will find many of the answers that you seek, and you will also find ways to develop that unrelenting focus that is the true nature of the challenge, the true nature of the game. I will leave a link to the book in the video description below if you are interested.